So what's been the biggest eye opener in doing, and I don't want to say like just the trips, but in redefine, because you went to law school. I mean, you're a practicing attorney. You have an immigration practice. You're raising boys. You're taking all these trips. Like, you've reinvented yourself.
I feel like I'm back in my old 20s. You know, I feel like this new sense of energy and like zest for life, and so it's exciting. It's thank God the boys are older, so they don't need me as much. So I'm also learning to do all this stuff, be busy with my create my practice, do these trips to kind of prepare myself for my own happiness and not cling to my kids for my happiness either. They're about to go off to college, so I have to create my own life and my own happiness apart from them.
So, and I think that's a big thing, is a lot of times I'll hear from people, or we'll have people listening that feel like they're too late in life to start over. And I don't agree with that. And I know you don't. So, I mean, to the people listening that are like, girl, I am 40, 50, whatever. I don't think there's an age. Like, what do they need to get in their mind? Like, what's your advice to them to go, you can start now?
Yes, you can start now. It is like, intimidating because you look around yourselves. Don't look or compare to everybody else. Everyone's life path is different. Yep. I once spoke about so I went back to law school with 2 kids in my, when I was 32, 33. And I'm here in classes with people who just came out of college, undergrad.
Right.
I didn't start my practice to age 40, and I'm 45 right now. And so then I compare myself amongst my peers, the fellow immigration attorneys, and they have 20 years of experience because they went straight from college to law school, the typical route. My route is different. And so I would be so intimidated. I'd be like, oh my God, look how, forward they are in their careers, how much they know. I'm so behind, it seems late. But then what I realized, it was funny because then I had a conversation with one friend where here she is, she's my age, just having her first child. So she did the whole law school thing. Now she's doing the journey of motherhood, where I did the journey of motherhood, and now I can focus my all on law, on my practice and my work. So, our lives are kind of like this. So our 2 paths are not the same, but eventually you can't compare because one's going through one scenario while you're going through the other, and it can vice versa.
And I think that's so many, there's a quote I love. It says, comparison is the thief of joy. And I think that's so true, because we look at other people as the barometer of our success, and that's not really how it should be. I think a lot of us do that naturally, but it really should be that we're defining our own success.
And what brings you happiness. This is where I still would work on is the fact that when I'm amongst my peers and we have our own businesses, everyone's kind of comparing what's your net worth, how much do you bring in, how much is your company worth. So I would get intimidated. I'm like, okay, I'm not there yet. But it's not my priority. I realize it's not my priority. My priority is I found peace within me. I found happiness in my life. My focus has always been my kids, these 2 good humans out in the world before anything else. That's my first job. Yep. And so I couldn't compete in that comparison that they were doing. And I remember my energy would just feel different anytime I'm around them. And I realized it's because my goals are not the same as them. And you can't compare. You have to be true to yourself of what you want and what makes you happy.
That's so true. A lot of my private clients that I coach, I always start with them is, tell me what you want life to look like. And you can really quickly tell, if they're telling me their story, or I want this, I want that, what are your goals? What is and I don't say, what are your goals? I purposefully say, what do you want your life to look like? Business, personal, everything. And I see where they go first.
Okay.
And what's interesting is they normally, if it's somebody who hasn't done a lot of work, they normally just start rattling off goals. And then I'll go deeper and go deeper and go deeper. And I'm like, well, tell me this and tell me that. And when they get to the part that really excites them, their voice goes up and they get excited and they have a lot of emotion behind it. But I'd say 9 times out of 10, it takes me a while to get them there, because they're so conditioned to, here's what is supposed to look like. This is what, I'm an attorney. This is what success looks like. I own a CFO. This is what. So I have to unpeel all the stuff to get them what it looks like for you.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that you've done that. Yeah. So as people are setting out, what have been the biggest, now that you have done that, you've redefined success, you've debunked the myth of I can go to law school and start a practice in my 40s, I can raise good humans. What have been the biggest learning lessons for you with all this?
When there is a rejection, it's a redirection.
Yes.
I've, to be honest, I've, applied to law school earlier, and they were, for some reason or another, it was just not the timing to go at that point. And I always was very frustrated and just impatient. And then later when I got in, 10 years later or so, I realized this was a better time to go. Even though it was later, it was a little harder because I was doing it with kids. other circumstances made it best that this was the time to go. So I've had to remind myself that, okay, if don't take rejection personally, maybe it's a protection and go another way, or maybe it's not the right time.
I think that's spot on. Rejection to redirection, because it's hard to see that in the moment. I think for most of us that have, are older and have been through things, we've had stuff happen in our lives. I feel like we can look back and go, oh yeah, I was being redirected towards something way better.
Hindsight's easier to say.
Right, but when you're in the middle of it, you're like, oh my God, this is horrible.
Yeah.
And you think it's going to be the end of the world. So keeping that in mind is a big thing. Big thing. What else did you learn in all this in your, and I know you're still learning.
Yes,
you're still growing.
Still learning. You never stop learning.
What surprised you? What surprised you the most out of like embracing this? Because you really, you're just, ever since I met you, you're just always upbeat and happy, and you can't say that around a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people are just, they put it on. I think you exude just fun and happiness.
It's a lightness. I feel it. You feel the change, and you got to have that positive aspect of it. Life, we are all so blessed. I mean, if you think about it, if you just take that minute of gratitude and see what you have, we all have something to be blessed and thankful for. And you just kind of take that, be your authentic self. Living your authentic self is my new thing.